Okay, so a formal welcome today to everybody who's present in the session. Today I have the privilege of welcoming distinguished panelists from industry. I will give a resume first, a very short resume of each of the panelists before we go into the purpose of the discussion and the actual questions itself. I'm going to start off with Darren Isaacs. Darren is the founder and CEO of Makosi, an alumni of Wits University. Makosi has opened operations in the UK and the US. And of course, Darren does live in New York. Darren, we do apologize for the time difference. He does describe in his own words the CSA qualification in the following way. I found this quite interesting. In my mind, it is the biggest bang for buck in terms of your years of investment. It gave me the capability to do many different things. No qualification could come close to the CASA. I still hope you have that in mind, Darren. And of course, we also have Ms. Kimmy Singh, also a partner at Deloitte and a UKZN alumni. So we're very proud of you, Kimmy, to be part of our UKZN team. Her list of achievements are also very impressive, being in the top 3 throughout her studies, graduating summa cum laude, first place in PGDA, 3rd position in part 1 of the QE, and of course, 1st position in part 2 of the final qualifying exam. She was also a partner at Deloitte at the age of 27. So that's quite a record time there. And of course, we also have Ugen Moodley, who is the Executive Director and Managing Partner of KPMG Durban, also a UKZN alumni. So we also welcome you, Ugen. Head of Advisory, KwaZulu-Natal. Areas of specialism, of course, include governance, risk management, internal audit, and overseeing the provision of audit, tax, advisory services as well in complex public and private sector environments. So that pretty much is a summation of who we have today in our discussion forum, and we're very, very sort of happy to have and privileged to have all of you today. So I'm going to start off the questioning firstly with Darren. Darren, firstly, welcome. And my first question to you, of course, is, and I ask this to most of my panelists, what is your daily routine? What does it look like from the morning to the evening? Tell us how you go about your day and how you spend your time.
Good stuff. So firstly, very, very cool to be here with the students and the amazing panelists. Yeah, as you mentioned, there's being a CA is just the most. It's definitely the most incredible qualification that gives you so much capability out there, and I definitely recommend to everyone just to keep cranking away with it. In terms of my daily routine, I think the first thing I do is I start with water. I think a lot of us start with our cell phone as our primary thing. We like jump out of bed and straight immediately get on our phones. Really important, get some water in. I then do my stretching. So spend about 20 minutes doing stretching exercises. And then I spend at least 30 minutes thinking about what I'm grateful for. So I've got a gratitude journal. It's over here. It's actually by a friend of mine. It's called this morning mind fuel. And I'll spend a bit of time here just documenting, what am I grateful for? What habits am I focusing on? My top 3 for today. What am I creating? And also doing some mental weed whacking. So we often have a lot of bad stories that we kind of tell ourselves. So, mental weed whacking. What are the things that you actually want to get out of your head and stop doing throughout the day? I actually live in California. I used to live in New York. So obviously, being in California, I typically start a little bit early at 5 in the morning, and kind of get that routine going, get my South African meetings out of the way. I try exercise at least 90 minutes a day, get on the bicycle, do a run and that type of thing. It's great working at home. I've got three daughters, so I'll be able to see. I'll see them off. I'll be able to see them when they come back from school. Jump in the swimming pool with them. And then definitely get involved in cooking dinner and just being present and mindful with my family. But I find most of that kind of routine starts early in the day. Get all that mental weed whacking done, get in the right state of mind to have a productive day.
Thanks, Darren. Just another question that I have, a follow-up question. In terms of your hours of sleep, I mean, would you sleep normally 6 or 7 hours, or sleep at 10, wake up at 4, that type of routine? What type of routine are you looking at?
I'm definitely not the best sleeper. I'm quite an efficient sleeper. I probably sleep 4 or 5 hours a night. There's so much action, so much good stuff going on. that I actually struggle. I actually struggle to stay asleep. So I'm typically up about 3 or 4 in the morning, you know, kind of lying there and relaxing a little bit. But yeah, probably 4 or 5 hours sleep is what I survive on.
Thanks for that, Darren. So I'll pose my next question to Kimmy. Kimmy, I know you are a summa cum laude student and a very, very good performer both at ITC and APC. Can you tell us about your daily routine on campus and how would it change now if you could go back?
Absolutely. So thank you, Suren. I'm very excited to be here because, as you know, I'm very passionate about the CASA profession. And I'm so excited that we can still see young people who are enthusiastic and wanting to come through the ranks and actually become the custodians of industry, especially in our country where we actually need people to take responsibility and help our country to grow. So very proud of all you guys on the call. Keep at it. So perhaps let me tell you what my routine was on campus and how it has evolved as life changes. So when I was on campus, I would wake up at 4:45 every morning, and I would actually start reading. I would actually start prepping for my day in terms of trying to anticipate what questions I needed to proactively ask my lecturers. So I would give myself at least half an hour of reading in the morning, and thereafter I would start my routine. I used to like Qigong. I'm not sure if anybody knows what Qigong is. It's very similar to Tai Chi. It's a very gentle physical activity, but it's all centered on mindfulness. So I used to love starting off my day with Qigong. And on those days where I really felt, like I can't get my mind and my A into G, believe it or not, but taking a moment to just meditate. And meditation does not necessarily mean that you're sitting like somebody in the Himalayas and you are saying, meditation is more about being fully present in the moment. So those were a few things that I did before I went to campus that actually got me going. I used to ensure that I had a very good breakfast. And when I say a very good breakfast, a very balanced breakfast, including a lot of protein. Because what happens during campus is that when your blood insulin levels spike, you tend to hit a slump. And when you hit a slump, you don't concentrate. So that was absolutely critical for me. So I did meal prep the night before to ensure that I had a good meal ready in the morning. And I also ensured that I carried lunch to campus. I know things have evolved. Lots of people buy stuff, but it's very important to ensure that what you're putting into your physical body is nutritious. So sometimes meal prep does work. And if you can't, that's fine. It's just about making correct choices. I also used to ensure that I took a lot of water with me. So I was very happy to see Darren's big bottle because I think half the weight in my backpack was water as opposed to books. And then I would get to campus. And obviously, when you arrive at campus, your day is quite sporadic depending on what your timetable looks like. So if I had lectures in the morning, I would attend lectures. And in between lectures, I used to make sure that I used to balance my time between either doing tuts and getting through reading or trying to do as much homework as possible. But also I made sure that I had something to look forward to on campus. I made sure that in one of my breaks, I scheduled something that was cool and that was fun and something that I would look forward to. So believe it or not, I used to go to the rec and I used to play pool with the boys and I used to win a lot of money, but we're not going to tell anybody that.
I don't doubt you. You would have won a couple of games.
So I always made sure that as much as I worked hard on campus, I had something to look forward to because campus is cool, guys. You must enjoy campus, but you must balance it with ensuring that you're getting, as Darren said, bang for your buck. So don't just sit around on campus and sit under a tree, for example. Go and do your tuts because it's buying you more time for leisure when you get home or to study. So after campus, what I would do is I would come home and I would just de-stress and relax for about an hour or two. If I had any homework that was still following me, I would finish it. And then it would be family time because family is very important. And that would include taking a walk with your dog, or doing your exercise, or doing what makes your soul sing. Because remember, there are two types of fatigue in the world. One, where you actually need to rest, and the other fatigue is where you are not doing something that inspires your soul. So it's about finding what makes your heart sing and making sure that you are putting time in your day to ensure that you have that. How my routine has evolved currently is, as Darren and I were chatting about it earlier, our work-life routine has changed. So we have a hybrid working environment. Sometimes you work from home, sometimes you're working out at a client. So it involves us evolving. And what I do is I have a cell phone where I have silent reminders. It literally just beeps once. So every 45 minutes, because that's based on my attention span, I make sure that my phone beeps, and I make a point of getting up to go and get a cup of tea, or getting up and standing in the sun for 5 minutes, or getting up and doing a bit of qigong, or taking time to write in my journal about joy. So as much as Darren said, he's got a gratitude journal, I have a journal which says, how have I found joy in my day today? So very similar to a gratitude journal, just flipping it slightly to take it slightly deeper to the emotional side, because emotions help with manifestation and creating experiences at the right vibration. So that is what I do every 45 minutes. And I find it gives me a break. It takes me away from a problem that I've been trying to solve. And it gives me an opportunity to think about something in the third person outside of the office environment, because I've walked onto the balcony, and it just gives me space to think. So back to you, Suren. Not sure if that was...
No, that was quite a comprehensive answer, Kimmy. Thanks. Thanks. Okay. Next question is for Ugen. So Ugen, I think my question to you is, how did you approach your learning in terms of tutorials and lectures at university? Were you a person who used to take a lot of notes down in the class, or not at all and just pay attention to the lecture? What was your approach and how did you learn?
I was going to say, well, it depends which year, Suren. First year and second year and stuff.
Yeah, probably third year and fourth year. Yeah, third year and PhD.
No, I'm just joking. No, it's important, absolutely important to have, really be structured and keep those notes, and then use the notes as the basis, and keep regular notes, as in whatever you do, when you read up, etc., and from the textbooks, etc., add to those notes and use those in preparation then for when you're studying and to write the exams and tests and stuff. So it's absolutely critical to take the notes on the lecture, support it from the readings that needs to be, that they often ask you to do, and then use that as a basis for your prep. You're not going to have time come the main exam to go back to that textbook, but rather use those notes and use the support and the additional stuff that you've added from any specific readings and tutorials that you have, to use that as the basis of what you're going to revise in preparation for those final kind of exams. So it's important as you get more and more senior and into your third and fourth year, etc., is you need to find a proper structure that works for you. It's very important to have a balance, but you need to find something that works for you. But I have one of my best friends actually who still reminds me about the days for the honors year where you never would see me, never at all, because at some point you're gonna just have to bed things down and sit in front of that desk and and do what needs to be done to get through the exams. But in doing that though, I'm so glad about Darren and Kimmy mentioned the importance of taking a break, of relaxing a bit, find the thing that relaxes you. Music was something that really did that for me. So what I would do is, when I needed that break, play some good music, play something that made me just relax and think of nothing else. Exercise is as important because you can't be keeping the brain just stimulated all the time without having some form of release. So even taking the time, for me, indoor soccer is something I still do to this day. And when I play it, it gives me all that, allows me to really relax and forget about anything that may have happened in a work day or any studying or anything else that I may have had to do. And with that, then as important is hydration. And it took me time to understand it, but eventually you understand that water is in fact the best form of hydration. We have everything else that's always in front of us, but the best form of hydration and keeping you your mind in the peak physical condition is hydration and water, for that matter, not Red Bull or Monster or anything like that, just plain old water.
There's one message we got today that's clear. We all need to drink more water, I think, when we become leaders. Okay, so I'll move on to my next point, which is with Darren. Darren, obviously, as CEO, and I'm sure many of your managers and partners for Makosi have actually recruited a lot of chartered accountants and professionals. What attributes do you find to be most important when you're hiring skilled staff? And how can our students actually start to develop those characteristics or attributes that you look for?
Yeah, so I just want to comment on something that Kimmy said there. So Kimmy, you said that you kind of make a plan to have something to look forward to, and that's so, it's so beautiful and so profound if you really have that in your day. I read a quote the other day. It said that happiness is something to do, something to give, and something to look forward to. You know, so I think if you actually build it into your schedule, like I need something to look forward to, whether it's a holiday or a meeting or something, actually scheduling those things out. And then Ugen, your study technique there, you mentioned that, yeah, you know, as you get closer to those exams in the honors year, there is so much there's so much to kind of go back to. You know, you have to go and dig through all of those textbooks again. So in my professional career and my studies as well, guys, just go and mute there, guys. In my studies and my professional career, I've always been a proponent of taking things in very, very small bites. So what I used to do, I had a discipline that every Sunday during college, I would summarize the entire week's worth of lessons. I would be so disciplined about it, and I would summarize them. And I actually went and bought, I think there were like 28 or 26 weeks of college. And I went out and I bought 26 of those like recipe binders. And I had a folder, and I bought 26 of those binders, and I committed at the start of the year, I'm going to fill one of these binders every Sunday with all the notes for that particular week, so that when the exams came around, I just had one binder of stuff to study. But if I let myself go, if I didn't do it for one Sunday, then I would have 2 weeks of work and I'd fall behind. So I became very, very disciplined in like using those small steps every Sunday, get into those routines, whatever your routines are, and then stick to them. And it just creates those kind of smaller bite-sized pieces for you. In terms of attributes, I think it's something I'm very interested in just in education in general. How do we teach mindset over skill set? How, you know, obviously in accounting, we're learning all of the statements, and for me it was very helpful to actually study through statements instead of even listening in class. Like you'll listen and understand the practical piece, but when you actually understand the fundamentals in those statements, for me, that was the most helpful thing. But I think I'm very interested in how universities are bringing in like growth mindsets, or, you know, what is my purpose? What is my capability? How much am I able to achieve really? And I only really picked that up when I kind of got out of my articles. Actually, a whole world opened up to me through different types of coaching and that type of thing. So it's probably a question back to you, Prof, there about how we actually bring that into the university environment, because we'll interview thousands of chartered accountants, but you can always tell straight off the bat the ones that have a different perspective on things. You know, how do I show up? How do I bring my energy, my enthusiasm, show like my inside? Because that's ultimately what clients want to see. It's great if you can do a consolidation and all that type of stuff, but how are you making people feel around you? How are you showing up? How are you including your team members and that type of thing? And it's more of that kind of EQ that is kind of hard to train in people. I hope that makes sense. But
it does make sense. I mean, I'm not sure if you're aware, but I'm sure you're aware that we have a CA 2025 program that we're filling in universities around the country. And of course, it's quite a massive program where we have EQ and critical thinking and so on in those. So it's a challenge for universities as well, for us to try and work these new concepts into our syllabus to try and get our students to be of the right mindset when they come, into practice.
I know. Yeah, I guess there's CA 2025 and EQ and that type of thing, but also how am I seeing the world? How am I seeing my role in society and that type of thing? And how do I actually categorize my different mindsets, growth mindset, scarcity versus abundance, and those types of things? Because when those things are ingrained in people, you find that they're able to then go and figure things out for themselves and self-learn, instead of having to go through more rigid training structures. So it's just an interesting topic in education.
Definitely it is. Thanks for that, Darren. So the next question I have is for Kimmy. Kimmy, as we know, when we have PGDA and we have third year, there's always a study break in between the time in which you finished your lectures and the time in which you write your papers. And I think students are always keen. This is the right time for our students now, because they are on more or less the break before they write the final assessments. How did you spend your study break or prepare your study break for those final assessments?
Thank you, Suren. So I think an important point and that we need to be cognizant of is that there's a very big difference between studying and revision. And I had something called a 48-hour rule. And my whole premise about learning is that I am learning to acquire knowledge. I'm not learning to pass an exam. And it's amazing once you flip the switch and you realize, oh my God, I'm doing this to acquire knowledge. It means you absorb more, you become more like a sponge, because this is now a life ambition, as opposed to at the end of the year, I'm writing an exam. So what I used to do is I used to make sure that every day when I learned a new concept, within 48 hours, I challenged myself to fully know that concept. If there was anything I did not understand about it, even if I had to read up about it, or had to go to a lecture or go to a tutor, within 48 hours, I would clear up all confusion in my mind so that I've actually learned the concept. After that, every TUT and every study break became revision. And revision is not necessarily about facts, but it's about also how you do something, the exam technique. So I use every tutorial and the study breaks to practice my exam technique, because I already learned the concepts within 48 hours of it being taught. And sometimes, yes, you do need to go back to your notes and revise, oh God, I forgot how to calculate an FCTR, and just go through the principles and the rules. But practice makes perfect. So during the study break, I actually used to take as many examples as I possibly could, and I used to practice exam technique. And my exam technique focused on 3 things. 1, get your easy marks first. 2, make sure that you are documenting every step of the process, so that even if I get the answer completely wrong, an independent person could follow my thought process, see how I applied my judgment, and I could still get part marks. And 3, and most importantly, if a question was, for example, for 60 minutes, I would put a timer on for 40 minutes. As soon as I hit 40 minutes, I would stop the question. I would move on to the next question, because it's a well-known fact that you earn more marks when you start a question as opposed to trying to finalize an answer. And then when I came back, because that would have given me 20 minutes, 20 minutes, 20 minutes, I would go back and try and finish all the other questions on the same premise. So for me, my study period was very much practicing my exam technique, getting as much examples done as possible, but also creating stress muscle or stress response muscle. I used to use my study break to say, okay, if I'm in an exam and I really flip out, I absolutely stress because I'm blank, what am I going to do? And I got into a routine of saying, okay, what are my stress factors? How do I know I'm going to flip out or blank out? Okay, how do I hold myself back? How do I ground myself? How do I center myself? And how do I continue with the next question? So for me, that study period really, really was about practicing a real life scenario of being in an exam and getting to the end.
Thanks, Kimmy. I think we all knew that. We hope you all knew that when we were young. We didn't have that type of attitude, I'm sure, but I think that'll be very helpful for students. I think definitely we're going to take a lot away from that. My next question is for Ugen. Ugen, what do you feel has been your most strongest quality, or if it's not for you or for anybody else, in terms of your professional and academic career? What do they need? What qualities do you think these graduates need to have?
Thanks, Ren, and maybe Kimmy, thanks for sharing those examples around how to time manage and stuff. It's really good to, good advice, because maybe just going back to what she said there, people often think I need to complete this entire thing, and they run over, and then you're wasting energy when you should be focused on the next question, and you're getting all those marks that you need to from there. So really great advice, Kimmy. Thanks for sharing that. Maybe about, if you don't mind, just maybe running that to by me again, what you want me to share a little bit more, it's Ren.
Yeah, so your question is basically, what do you think are the strongest qualities that you've had that have led you to success in your professional career and academic career?
Okay. No, thanks, Ren. So, I mean, the one thing is, and it goes for everybody already, is the right work ethic. There's an understanding that going with what the profession you're choosing, and just as an individual, to get to the volume of work that needs to be done, you have to have the right work ethic, and you got to be willing to always put in that extra effort to get you there. And I think that's one of the things that's served me very well. I'd like to think my attitude toward things, I always look at things in a very positive way, believing that, hey, I can do this. There's no reason why I can't. And then using that positive attitude, to put it out into the universe that I will make this happen. It's meant to happen, and I will make it happen. I'll do my bit to make it happen. So maybe without going into a lot of detail, just a really good positive attitude and work ethic to understand what needs to be done, and just believing in yourself that you can do it. And I can remember, maybe I go back way before even going to campus, I used to, one of the things that we used to use as a technique at school, one of our teachers taught us, is like, maybe start the day by stopping to think, like, where do you want to see yourself? What do you want to achieve? And then plot how you're going to get there. A lot of like what Darren already shared and Kimmy already shared is not necessarily every day, but just have a view of where you see yourself, and then know what you're going to have to do to get there. And that entails some hard work. You will get to reap the rewards of that hard work by putting in the effort right now where you're at. I mean, I finished campus, can't remember now. It was late 90s. So, and once that gets behind you, then you start a new journey in a professional environment, in a professional firm, and there's learning to be, to do every single day. Now, over 25 years or so in the profession, and I still learn every day. So that attitude of understanding that you don't get it, it's not done, it's a journey. You learn every day, and you learn something new, and you learn from everybody, from the most junior person that joins your team to a direct report and most senior person in the organization. So if you have that attitude that, you want to learn, you're there to learn, that'll take you a long way. And what Kimmy says, again, also true. You're not learning, or you want to acquire the knowledge, not pass the exam. So acquiring the knowledge along the way, all the way from the day you finish passing that exam and keep going, is the attitude you need to really get you places.
Thanks for that response, Ugen. So my next question is for Darren. Darren, I'm sure in your corporate life and maybe in your academic career, you would have experienced challenges and failures at some point. How do you manage failure, and how do you cope with challenges? How do you respond?
I love that. Challenges and so mess ups, but also obstacles. So, a mess up is, well, I tried that and it didn't work. An obstacle is, there was an obstacle and I didn't even try that, and I'm not going to. I'm going to find another way. I've always seen both of those things as the raw materials for greatness, because most people stop at the obstacle. And that means, like, okay, so if most people stop at the obstacle, if I can actually just spend a bit more time on that obstacle and like really scrutinize it and come up with the strategies and spend time there, that's where those kind of breakthroughs happen, and you're able to do amazing things. So we love looking for things that aren't working, because most people have given up on that stuff, and that's where we're going to go out there and innovate and really drive value. So if we aren't blowing things up, if we aren't hitting obstacles, then we aren't looking hard enough, and we aren't working hard enough.
Darren, while you're on the topic, can you share any experience that you've had where you had like a severe challenge or severe obstacle in your life, and how you overcame it?
I guess starting the business, moving to America, there are a lot of things, and I think again it goes to my point earlier about taking things in very, very small pieces. I've got a baby who's just woken up here, but just taking things in very, very small pieces. Even when I started the business, I didn't have a business plan, and the name Makosi was what a woman used to call me on my audit at Rand Merchant Bank. Her name was Maria Gladler, and she used to serve tea to all of the audit staff. And she used to come along and she said, Makosi, do you want tea, my boys? She used to call me Makosi. It was a term of endearment. So when I started the business, I said the simplest thing I could possibly do is just put my name on the door. So I'm just going to put my name on the door. It's going to be me to meet my customers. I don't know who the customers were going to be or what I was going to do even. But it was just those small kind of steps. And I think that people often trip themselves up with worrying, sure, how am I going to pass that board exam? Or, how am I going to get through CTA? Just focus on, to Kimmy's point, like the last 48 hours, what did I learn? How do I really internalize that? And then I'll get to the next piece in the next 48 hours.
Thanks, Darren, for that. My next question is for Kimmy. Kimmy, can you tell us about your approach to actually answering questions? I know I've interviewed many alumni on different approaches to actually answering questions in terms of examinations and tests and so on. What was your approach when you got that paper with you in front of you?
So the first thing I did is I took a pregnant pause, right? So I basically calmed myself, because sometimes it is overwhelming when you are sitting in an exam and you're flipping through it, and you start stressing yourself out by saying, oh my God, I actually didn't study standard costing or variances, and now it's in the paper. So the entire time I'm focusing on this question that I'm not going to do well on, instead of saying, what can I actually tackle? So I really like Darren emphasizing that you need to do things in bite sizes. I always say, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And instead of worrying about the question to come about standard costing that you didn't study about, how about you just focus on the very first question? Don't even read the other questions. Literally just focus on the first question. Internalize, okay, I've got this, tick, 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 tick. Okay, I know all of this. I'm a bit worried about this part of the question, but it's fine. I'll deal with that in the last 20 minutes of that question. Let me go and get my easy marks. So it's about analyzing the low-hanging fruit first and saying, what can I quickly get out of the way that I know I'm going to bank marks for? Often what we like to do, and it's human nature, is to say, let me deal with the difficult stuff first, and then I'll get the easy stuff. But quite honestly, in an exam situation, you want to bank as many of the marks as possible first. So go and look for what's easy, guys. Focus on this question. Don't stress about what you don't know or what's coming in the next question, because quite honestly, you may not even get to the next question. So it may be a moot point. Focus on the now. Take it one step at a time. Focus on the first question. Do as much as you can and move on. If you're methodical, if you keep yourself calm, you focus on your exam technique, which should be a well-oiled muscle now because you've been practicing, and give yourself credit, guys. You have been doing this. You have been in the school system, let alone university, from the time you were 3 turning 4. There's definitely something up here of value that you can put on to that paper, and all those hours of, really burning the midnight oil. It really is an asset. It should be, you shouldn't go into this exam as if, oh my God, what's going to happen? You should go into this exam saying, I've given this my best. I'm going to give it my all. I've done everything I could possibly do to this point to equip me to the best of my ability. And worst case scenario, if this doesn't work, I can do this again next year. Nobody died because they failed an exam. Nobody died because they missed a deadline. Nobody was persecuted because they didn't know how to do standard costing when they went to their first job. Learning and growing is an iterative process. I always say that if your attitude is right, you can always get your technical right. If your attitude is not right, then you are just creating an obstacle for yourself that you cannot work around. So if you've got a can-do attitude, if you take the exam as a learning experience, and it's just another tutorial that you need to work through, given a time constraint, yes, there's a lot riding on it, but even if I don't make it, you are still going to be okay. Then you're going to take so many of those rocks that you are carrying, you know, that burden. Oh my God, I must pass this exam. Oh my God, I must get to articles next year. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Sometimes as individuals, we create so much of stress and trauma for ourselves by putting ourselves under pressure. Instead of saying, I'm taking this backpack of rocks out, I'm actually going to enjoy writing this exam. Whatever the outcome is what it is meant to be, and I will deal with the outcome and cross that bridge when I get to it. But right now, I'm just focusing on showing my prof how much I've really learned in his class, and to actually prove to myself how much I've learned and how I have grown since I've entered university. It's all about the attitude. It's all about the perspective. It's all about dealing with this as an opportunity to grow and dealing with consequences when the consequences arrive, instead of taking those rocks on now when the consequences haven't even arisen. So that's the best advice I can give you.
Thanks for that, Kimmy. Very enlightening. You did mention stress in your response, and there's another point I just want to talk about. Ugen, this question is for you, but I'm sure being a managing partner is not without its stresses. How do you manage stress on a daily basis?
Okay. Well, for one, I think like Kimmy kind of mentioned, over the years, you learn these mechanisms. Your body learns to cope. Your mind learns to cope. And I guess as with each challenge that you experience along the way, you learn to exactly how to react and treat every situation. So you build it up. You don't get gray and wise, you know, overnight. It's a journey, and as you learn all of those things, you learn how to deal with them. But that being said, the nature of the job, the nature of studying and stuff like that it's stressful. It's a stressful time writing exams, etc. But you got to know what works for you as an individual. And I use a simple example, like for me, the best stress relief is playing a game of football. If I play football once a week, when I walk off there, I am, all the stresses of the week are gone with it. You know, that's for me. But every morning, kind of like what Darren mentioned as well, I get up and I do some exercise, and it's like prepares me for the day, like from a physically perspective, from mentally, etc. In that time, while you might be doing something physical, your mind is working, trying to say, well, how am I plan my day? What am I going to be doing? What do I know that's stressful? Good example was yesterday. I had a major meeting at a client, and I knew it was going to be a tough discussion. But I went in there knowing that and expecting it to be tough, and therefore, even though it was tough, I was able to handle it and manage it, because I prepared myself mentally that when I'm going to go into the situation, it's not going to be like I'm just going to be chilled and relaxed. I know it's going to be a tense situation. I prepared myself for it and walked into that knowing full well that it was going to be tough discussions, a tough environment. But I also knew that I was well prepared and backed myself in that everything that I was going to say I can absolutely 100% support. Almost in the same way which you're going to do an exam, if you think about it. You have to back that over the years, over the period, I know exactly how to go about doing this. I'm going to trust my gut as to whether I know all the information, etc., like that. And the stress of the situation will then just put your whole body and mind and everything into gear and get you over the line to get things done. So you train over the years, and for all the students online, you have been training for years from day one to now. You've been preparing yourself. So now you must trust that you've done all the hard work. It's going to be stressful, but back yourself and know what are those couple of things that you can do. Like for me, maybe exercise, play a game of football, listen to some music that you really love, and it just puts your mind at ease and prepare yourself for when you're going to go in there to do that, but that you know is going to be stressful. But because you know it's going to be stressful, you prepare for yourself. You prepared for it. You prepare yourself mentally, and you go in there saying, well, now let me just apply everything I know in the situation. So whether it's a meeting, whether it's an exam, etc., you just tell yourself that you've done all the homework, you prepared, you're ready. Now you're just going to go and deliver because you know you can. You're trusting yourself now.
Thanks for that, Ugen. And while we're on the stress management topic, I know Darren did mention that he does do some stretching in the morning. Darren, is there anything else specific that you use to manage your stress? Do you do meditation, for example, or anything else that works for you?
Yeah, I just wrote a couple notes down there, Kimmy and Ugen, just such good insights there. Something you said, Kimmy, about showing up with the right attitude or right approach. You know, I've always had this this belief that your number one priority is to protect your confidence. So, you know, your confidence can also be one of your attitudes. You know, so how do I protect that fundamental outlook on things? Because you know, when I was studying for BAC, I went through a few difficult periods. I broke up with a girlfriend. I had some other challenges, and I found that really affected my studying. And so I learned that it was way better for me to actually fix that underlying problem. Let me go out there and be happy, hang out with my friends for a bit. Even if it took time away from my studies, it was important to get back to a solid baseline where I could actually study again. So, you know, be very mindful of what affects your productivity, hanging out with certain people, you know, being in a different environment, and I protect those fundamental things, you know. So that for me has also enabled me to like not get into stressful situations. I know, like, I'm not going to get into this thing because it's going to affect my confidence. And having a strong understanding of what is important to you. So, like, I know what is important to me, and I don't know how many people actually sit down and write down what is important to me, because then it's very clear for me what I'm going to get stressed out about and what I'm not going to get stressed out about, you know. So that isn't stressful for me if it's not important to me. What's important to me, just so everyone knows, is that I show up as the best person I can possibly be. So when there are challenges, when there are things that aren't going right, or there are stressful situations, what's the fundamental thing for me? I show up and be the best person I can possibly be, and everything will fall into place, because I'm not going to die. I'm still going to be a CA, you know, and I'm still going to have a lot of opportunity to do amazing things in the world. So for me, as long as I show up appropriately, I can't let anything else stress me out.
Yeah, the world is not going to end yet, isn't it? So that's a good one. Kimmy, on your side, another question for you is, in terms of your morning, what motivates you in the morning, to get up in the morning, I suppose?
Okay. So then, if I may, before I answer that question, just following on, Darren, I saw your little baby, and you hugged your baby, and there was such a poignant moment for me, because it reminded me that we need to take care of ourselves, and we need to be kind to ourselves. And I always, whenever I'm stressed, I always take a step outside of who I am, and I look at myself as a third party. And I have a beautiful 9-year-old daughter, and I always ask myself, if Ariana was in the situation, what would I tell her to do? What support would I offer her? What would be the best advice that I give her? And oftentimes, just by putting my little one in my shoes, it allows me to be kinder to myself in the way I respond to myself, in the way I gather myself together, in the way I take care of myself and get myself back on track. So I urge the students on the line to actually just be kind to yourself. You know, there are times when things are not going to work out. And if you are your own biggest critic, then you're going to put yourself under pressure, and then you're just going to fill more rocks into your backpack instead of those water bottles that I so urge you to carry. Moving on to your question, Suren, in terms of what motivates me in the morning. One of the points that Darren raised is, and I think it was when you read his biography or his CV, in terms of how being a CA unlocked so much for him in his life. For me, being a CA literally is a key to allowing me to pay it forward, to allowing me to create a greater impact in the lives of the people, either around me or even people that I don't know. So what motivates me is the fact that with my CASA, with being a partner at Deloitte, with being the president of SAICA previously, it created opportunities and platforms for me for a greater good, to pull up people through the ranks, to inspire students to follow this route, and to also to be a custodian from a business perspective. What I do matters. Every audit report that I sign is ensuring that my parents, who are pensioners now and whose pension funds are invested in the companies that I am auditing, that their livelihoods are assured going forward. It makes sure, it ensures that a gogo in the village that is relying on her grandson who is working at the client that I am auditing has an income, because the auditee or the company that I'm auditing is going to be a going concern, and hence he's going to be employed and he's going to be able to take care of his gogo in a village. So for me, it's about saying, it's not just Kimmy is a partner at Deloitte, or Kimmy was the president of SAICA. This is Kimmy as a human being. This is Kimmy who's authentically me, who's using all these tools that the CASA profession opened up to me to have a bigger purpose, to pay it forward, to make sure that we are ensuring that nobody is stealing from the businesses that we are auditing so that they can do good in their communities. And that just inspires me. So when the going gets tough, Suren, I take a look at my daughter and I say, gosh, what am I doing to create a country and a world in which my daughter, her friends, and the next generation is going to thrive in? And then I bring that back to who I am and what I do every day. And I say, okay, if that's the case, I'm going to go to my client and I'm going to review those work papers that I'm so not looking forward to. So I take it from a macro picture and I bring it back to my day, and I make it worth the while.
I think that was beautiful. I really enjoyed how you take from the macro to the micro. We all need to do that, I think. I'm just going to ask this question because I think it's such an important question. Ugen, on your side, what is it that motivates you in the morning or inspires you?
Thanks. Well, first, I'm just thankful that I got up. We got to stop and smell the roses. We have to think, you can't assume everything, so just be thankful for that. As a start, I start my day with prayer every day, exercise, getting myself ready, beautiful wife, lovely children, that really then motivate me to get my day going. And often in my day, what I prepared for in the day versus what I have to deal with in the day, I often never it's not what my diary says, it's what the issue is at a client or with an individual or one of my team members, etc., that I got to deal with. And when you after a while you start expecting that to be the norm is not the norm, as in what you had scheduled is not necessarily going to happen, therefore you prepare for it and you expect it. You start expecting the unexpected every day, and then you should be fine, because if you're too structured and you expect, hey, if the smallest thing throws you out, then you're not going to be able to deal with the real world. So I think just understanding that people need to understand they need to be a bit flexible. While you have the exact goal that you intend for the day, and you have a plan of what is meant to happen, expect the unexpected, be agile and adaptable, because that's 90% probability of what's going to happen during the day. Some curveballs are going to be thrown at you. Be prepared for it.
So thanks, Ugen, for that. Darren, on your side, your motivation for the morning?
It depends on which morning, if it's during the week or the weekend. But on weekdays, my team motivates me. I wake up and I see some of my team members on this call, and just working with them and seeing them show up, seeing them perform. It's really, really amazing, being able to serve an incredible team and seeing them in front of clients and seeing them showing up and growing and performing. that's like primarily why, why I wake up and what gets me going. From a kind of a macro point of view, I apply a framework which I guess might be strange for students on this call to understand, because you're only 22, 23 years old. But I apply something which is called the 25-year framework. And imagine if you set a goal, you want to be X, or you want to be worth X, or you want to impact X, and you gave yourself 25 years to achieve that. Just think of how much more calm you would be, how much more structured you would be. And I think the problem is that a lot of people haven't defined what they want to achieve in life. Firstly. Secondly, more importantly, they haven't defined, well, in what time frame, next week, next year, and that type of thing. And we actually put a lot of pressure on ourselves because we don't know where we want to go, and we don't know how long we want to take to actually get there. And so by actually saying that in 25 years, I'm 44 now, but in 25 years, I want to have achieved X. And then by actually breaking that down into 3-month increments. So 3 months of 25 years is 1%. So if you're able to achieve 1% of your 25-year goals within that 3 months, again, it breaks it down into those small manageable pieces, and you're just so much more structured, you're less stressed about things. And what ends up happening is when you do that, you actually achieve that goal within 10 years instead of within 25, because you're way more structured by that. But I'm motivated by my team. I'm motivated by the possibility that we have to change the world, the stuff we're able to do. I'm constantly pinching myself that I can't believe we're in this situation, and we're having such a amazing impact on our community, on the profession. We want to put 10,000 kids through school. There's just so much good stuff we were able to do out there. But primarily starts with what's important to me, how do I show up for my team, and what do I want to be when I'm big.
Thanks, Darren, for that. So we should be wrapping up now. So we've just got about 5 minutes more. So any final comments from you, Kimmy? Any advice?
I think, thank you, Suren. I think the best advice I can give you is not to take everything so seriously. If you reflect on when you were in your matric year, you also felt anxiety, you also felt stress. It was a big milestone that you needed to get to. But guess what? You got through it. So just like that, everything in life is temporary. The good is temporary. So make sure that you are fully present, you're fully mindful, and you're thoroughly enjoying the good when you have it. But the challenges are also temporary, and those too shall pass. The key of life, in my view, is at the end of the day, are you doing good? Are you being good? And are you paying that good forward? And if you take every opportunity, including your studies, to say, am I doing this for me? Is it working out? And what else am I doing for those around me? It just creates some sort of purpose in whatever you do in life. So find your purpose, find what makes you tick and what makes you shine. Have that confidence that everything in life is temporary, so enjoy the good and take the bad with a pinch of salt, and know that life is just about growing. Every experience is about growing. Your growth does not stop after university. It doesn't stop once you are qualified as a CA. It doesn't stop in your personal life when you are married or when you have kids. Growth is there to stay. And if you approach that growth with enthusiasm, with passion and confidence, and with ultimate faith, there's nothing that you cannot succeed at. But here's my challenge to you. Just don't succeed in life, guys. Create a life of significance. Really make an impact, not only in your life, but in those around you. And I promise you, when you reflect on your life, you will feel fulfilled, you will feel peace, you will feel as if you've really achieved something, and you will actually have a sense of joy. That is my parting words to the team, Suren, to everybody on the call.
Really inspirational. Really appreciate that. Ugen, any final words from you?
Yeah, maybe as the guys are now getting closer to that final big exam, then don't think of it as one mega thing that's coming up. You've already prepared, back yourself. Just be confident that you've put in the effort and put in all the hard work. And if you back yourself, you'll get over that line. And trust me, whatever it is you're doing, as long as you're doing it with the kind of passion that you have for what you see as where you ultimately want to get to. So if you're passionate about it, it'll happen. You'll put in the effort and you'll make it happen. This profession you're choosing actually allows you to then go into any other area in industry, etc., that you have a 100% full passion for, whether it's in healthcare, in education, or you name it, banking, finance. Choose a sector that you may, you've got to think, am I doing this because I'm passionate about it, or am I doing this because I believe this is a career that's going to pay me well in time to come? You can have both. You can have everything, because that's what the qualification allows. Whether you pass it as a CA, or whether you have, as far as you come, then diversify and go into other areas, you can make a mega difference in the world just for as far as you've already come, and just keep going and pass this final exam, because it's about pursuing a career in an area that you're passionate about. Because I go back to one of the things Darren mentioned right up front, because it's actually a sign in my kitchen. And pretty much says that, for a happy life, you need something to do, something to love, and something to look forward to. So remember that part as well. You're going to look forward to one of the best holidays you've ever had, because you don't get this as a working person, the 2-3 month gaps of relaxation. So just keep putting the effort in between now and then, and you'll get to reap all of those rewards. And best wishes and best of luck to all of you.
Thanks a lot, Ugen, for that. Darren, any final words for our students?
Yeah, again, just awesome to be Kimmy and Ugen. Learned a huge amount from you as well. So thank you for sharing. Similar to what you guys mentioned there, they're actually 2 books. They almost like children's books, really, but 2 books I highly recommend you get. The first is The Alchemist. The Alchemist just talks about the fact that the whole universe is conspiring for your success. That path is laid out in front of you, and don't get in the way of that path. So the failures and those types of things are part of the journey. So if you keep on reminding yourself that the whole universe, and not just everyone around you, this world, the whole universe is working for you with your kind of best intentions, then just pay attention to that. So The Alchemist, highly recommend that book. The second one is The 4 Agreements. The 4 Agreements really just talks about this head trash that that we kind of let go into our heads, and these fundamental 4 agreements that you need to make with yourself that will really help you going forward in life. And the last thing is what Kimmy mentioned there, like, find your purpose. And it's not an easy thing to do. People travel their whole lives and go on these long journeys to, like, why am I here? What is my purpose? So I know that's not an easy thing to kind of figure out overnight, but understand that whatever your purpose is, being a CA is probably the best way to get there. I don't care what your purpose is, because a CA gives you the ability to change the world, to feed your family, to achieve incredible things. So whatever you ultimately define your purpose as, a CA is going to get you there. And so my purpose is that I don't have to change the world. I just want to make sure that it remembers me, even if that means changing the world. And again, good luck, stay at it. Being a CA is the best possible way to achieve your ultimate ambitions, even if you don't know what they are right now.
Thanks a lot, Darren, for those inspiring words. Really appreciate it. So everybody, our time is actually up now. I'd like to thank again Darren Isaacs from Makosi, Ugen Moodley from KPMG, and Kimmy Singh from Deloitte for a wonderful session today. I really appreciate your time. I know your times are busy, you have very heavy work hours. Thanks a lot. Take care and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, Suren. Good luck, everyone. Take good care. Bye.
All the best, everyone.
Appreciate you guys.